I was walking down the street downtown. It's a busy day. And I couldn't help but notice there was an attractive woman sitting there on the steps. And as I walked by, I noticed she was checking me out. So I turned to her and I said, "Excuse me, are you looking at my glass?" And that's all right. I'm used to that. In fact, many of you have probably seen me walking around already and have been looking and saying, "Wow, is that a Google Glass?" Yeah, it is, and you're more than welcome to try it. So I invite you guys after the presentation to please find me. If you haven't tried Google Glass, this is a perfect opportunity. I'm more than willing to talk to you about what it can and can't do and how it works and share the experience with you. One of the common questions I get from people is, well, how did you get Glass? Well, I went to a conference called Google I/O. Most of you have probably heard of Google I/O. And in 2012, they had parachuters come jump down onto the conference building wearing Google Glass. And they had stunt bicyclists wearing Google Glass. And it created quite an interesting presentation at best. And they offered it to everybody that attended the conference, the opportunity to get a Google Glass. So obviously, I was going to take them up on that. So now I'm part of an organization. It's called Glass Explorers. That's a joke, guys. There is a euphemism for somebody who uses glass inappropriately or in a way that the etiquette isn't nice for those around, but that's all right. So are there many of you that have already tried glass? People that have tried glass, a handful of people? All right. What about those who haven't touched glass? Anybody who's not touched glass? All right, you can touch my glass, all right? In this presentation, I'm going to talk to you about a lot of things. First up is what glass is not. All right, so there are a lot of things out there that are in the wearables market, and many of them are very obscure. What glass is not is a cyborg. We're not mounting big hardware on your head. Glass is meant to be a lot more natural in the form of, or wearables in general, in the form of watches and glasses, which are common for our cultures. Glass is also not a cell phone. There is no cellular radio inside of glass. It actually tethers to your phone and uses your phone to host a phone call, and it does that through a Bluetooth connection. It is also not a GPS. Imagine if you had a cell phone and a GPS strapped to the side of your head. I don't know if I want that many radio waves penetrating my brain, but I imagine it could work. It might get a little bit warm, though. So it's not a cell phone and it's not a GPS. It does allow me to better connect with my social network, not necessarily to consume data for my social network, but definitely to produce content for my social network. For example, I can turn glass on, and I have a head gesture set, and I can say, turn it back on. Okay, glass, Google, Mobile Central Europe. And now it's doing a search for Mobile Central Europe. That content has come back. I only have two hands, and I have to manage glass, my slide share, and this microphone. So this is going to be fun. It comes back, and it tells me about Mobile Central Europe. I could then take a picture, and now I'll post that picture to Facebook. So I have that up on my screen, and in addition to this picture, I'll now add that picture of Mobile Central Europe by creating a vignette. So now it's created that, and oops, hold on. Okay, Glass, share with Google Plus Public. That picture is now just posted up to Google Plus Public, all very quickly, all very easily, within seconds. Few of you would be able to pull your phone out, unlock your phone, and get anywhere close to what I've just done very easily. And I've stayed talking to you. Very few glances up. That's where glass proposition is. There are certain etiquette that you have to pay attention to with glass. Like, I've gone to the restroom here a few times, to, I guess you guys say toilets. So I've gone to the toilets a few times here, and you'll notice, or you may not have noticed, but every time I go to the restroom, I will either remove glass or I'll place it simply on top of my head, because there's something funny about walking into a bathroom with a camera. People start to freak out. It's not a very comfortable feeling. The guy next to you is looking at you with a camera and you're doing your private business. So don't go there. That would be a glass hole. On that theme, I am walking around with a camera right on my face. Some people like cameras. Some people are really excited around cameras. I'm sure many of you have taken a camera and you had friends that are like, oh, hey, and they're all doing stupid stuff in front of the cameras. But not everybody's that way. You're kind of like paparazzi now. You always have a camera and you're always looking at your friends or new people. And some people don't care for that. Again, that can be a glass hole move. You want to be sure that you pay attention to the comfort level of the people that you're with. If I'm at dinner, the first time with you, and you keep looking at me in a very odd way, I'll tend to take glass and then place it on the top of my head where there's a camera not facing you to make you feel more comfortable. I am not a glass hole. I am a glass explorer. Next, what glass is. Glass is an Android device. In fact, it's ice cream sandwich. API 15 4.0.3. All right, so if you're an Android developer, it's very easy for you to move into development on glass. You'll simply use regular Android development tools, the Android APK, API, and then a special add-on to that API. If you start to break down what glass is, it's very minimal hardware. There's actually a teardown that you can look at that will tell you about the resolution. It's 640 by 320. These pixels are about 1/8 the size of an iPhone 5S pixel. So really tiny pixels. Creates 5 megapixel images and produces 720p video. Pretty good considering the size of a pair of glasses that you have on your head. I could start to tear this down a little bit more, and we can talk about the battery, where the battery is located, and how that battery is used to balance glass so it doesn't feel heavy on my face. There's a bone amplification speaker, and that speaker allows me to quietly hear information that's being sent to me. So if I receive a text message, I hear a sound. It does not put anything in my face. I just hear the sound. And if I choose to read that text message, I could then touch glass and have it show me that text message. If I'm too busy to read it, say I'm driving, I can have it read it to me. And it will use that speaker. There's an earbud that goes in there too if you would like better sound than the bone amplification speaker. Simple logic board with a Texas Instruments dual core processor, a touchpad on the side that allows me to navigate what they call cards that are displayed in the display. And of course, I have a microphone, light sensor, and a camera. It's all fairly simple. There's not a lot there. It is Bluetooth enabled, and it is Wi-Fi enabled. So I can connect Bluetooth devices to glass. So if I go to a website, I can connect a Bluetooth keyboard to glass, and then I could use it to fill out forms. Otherwise, I can't fill out forms with just my voice. It also has 16 gigs of storage and a gig of RAM, all in this tiny device. It's pretty simple. There's a camera button on top as well, so if you wanted to quietly just take a picture, you could. I could also record a video. Makes it really simple. I've been skiing and mountain biking a few times, and you're wearing gloves and stuff like that, and it's, you know, touchpads don't really like gloves, but the camera button is very simple, so I can quickly just take a picture. You guys look lovely. I could use a little bit more light. There's no flash. That would be weird if there was a flash too. actually, I could use that really good for like riding a bike. You could have like a headlight on your head. Now, there are a lot of questions that people come up with for a Glass Explorer. The most common one is the very first thing that I get. It's very, very common is, how do you like them? Well, I happen to be one of the few people that I meet, and I meet a lot of Glass Explorers, one of the few people that wear it every day. I do wear it every day. And in fact, I wear them so much that most Glass Explorers say, wow, I don't even wear mine that much. I live in Colorado. Colorado is in the middle of the US, and it's very sunny, very mountainous, and right now it's fairly well covered in snow. So I wear them as sunglasses. I have sunglass lenses that I just pop right in. So I get the chance to wear them all the time because it's always sunny, and I don't like to stare in the sun. So how do you like them? I do like them. I wear them all the time. They're convenient. I take a lot more pictures. I record a lot more videos. I capture more of my life that before I would never do. Anybody a lazy camera person? Like you're like, wow, I'd take a picture of that. But that would mean I have to pull my phone out of my pocket, unlock it, wait for the camera to start, and then take a picture. Yeah, I'm that lazy guy. But now, I take pictures all the time. I get text messages, I can reply with my voice, very simple. Love that. Another question, so, well, what if I wear glasses? Well, there are lenses that just pop right in. You can now get prescription lenses. For the most part, if you're only nearsighted, you'd be able to use them fine because, well, there is a screen right there next to your eyes. But if you were to take your phone and hold it at about arm's length, that's about what the screen feels like. What if I'm left eye dominant? Most people in the world are right eye dominant, and right now in this current production, they only produce a right eye device. Well, when they do reach full production, they will be an option to get left and right. So that's not much of an issue. Next, when are they coming out and how much will they cost? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this spring. They're talking about second quarter of this year. That is the common rumor that's happening. We don't have a specific date, and everybody's talking about price. And I think price will definitely dictate consumer adoption. I think business will adopt it much quicker than consumers. But if the price is right, I think a lot more people will adopt it. And it's, I used to wear glasses. I was nearsighted for a while, and then I had LASIK surgery and fixed that. So now I went from not having to be wearing glasses whenever I was doing something that required distance vision to now I'm wearing glasses again. But I kind of don't mind. So a lot of people would then start to question, well, I have a phone, so why would I wear glass? Well, there are a number of reasons why glass is more convenient. One of the first things that happens is whenever we try to quickly do anything with our phone, that is the opportunity of when we drop our phone. Anybody in here never drop their phone? No. Oh, liar. At some point we do drop our phones, and unfortunately we do crack them. My phone stays in my pocket now. Glass is there to do most of the interactions that I would normally do with my phone, but my phone stays in my pocket, so my phone is more protected now. So I appreciate that. I like that. Another thing that I like is I feel more connected with people when I'm with them. It's so sad when you go out to dinner and you'll see a woman and a man together at a table and they're both looking at these little screens rather than each other, right? So glass, and this is way too common, not amongst just couples, but among friends and even out here in the auditorium, I've seen many people talking to each other while doing this and, you know, and this is a great experience that unfortunately has become a little bit more socially acceptable, but not to me. So I like being with people. I can do a lot of those things just by using glass. I don't have to look at glass to use glass because it's voice activated. I can easily engage glass and have it do something. Okay, Glass, Google, Warsaw, Poland. So it does that very easily, and I don't have to not look at you. I don't have to look at that screen. Now it's reading to me about Warsaw from Wikipedia. That's awesome. Thank you, Glass. Oh, shut up. I'm busy. It's 260 kilometers from something, is telling me. The other thing is it's hands-free. I'm able to drive. I'm able to carry stuff. I'm able to do a lot of things without my hands needing to engage my phone. Very, very handy. And it goes more than just answering phone calls. Many of the things you can do searching, like I'm having a conversation with you and we're talking about that Bill Murray golf movie and you're like, oh, what was the name of that movie? Oh man, okay, Glass, Google Bill Murray golf movie. Oh, it's Caddyshack, and I didn't leave the conversation. Very simple. Now, we talked about Glass and how Glass improves life, how I use life, how I use Glass, how I like to use Glass. Let's talk a little bit about how Glass is built, or Glassware. So the applications that we build, there are two ways to do it. One is with the Mirror API, and the other is with an API that's added to the Android API. It's called the GDK, or Glassware Development Kit. We'll focus on the Mirror API. Mirror API is a REST-based service. It uses JSON, and it allows me to send information from a server-based application to a static card on my device. It is not installed on the device, but simple JSON sent across the wire to Glass, all authenticated and approved through Google. So I would create my server-based application in whatever language I choose. That language would then produce content that will be sent through Google. There's no direct Glass or server to Glass communication. It has to go through the Mirror API. Pretty simple. It produces content. This is what the screen would look like. There are cards. The home screen is the one in the middle with the time. All right, so that's what you see when you first put on Glass. You notice the words OK Glass down at the bottom. You've heard me say OK Glass. That is the voice trigger that it's listening for me to use my voice to control it. Everything to the right is the past, things that I've produced, pictures, calls that I've had, videos that I've recorded, searches that I've done, all time are chronologically listed on the right-hand side. And then to the left is everything that's present in the future, like what's the weather? It's 41 degrees here right now, which is boiling hot in Celsius. But in Fahrenheit, it's kind of cool. That's a joke, people. All right. So these live cards sit over to the left side of the screen. Now these cards are produced using JSON and REST. Typically those are going to be the things that are in the past or onto the right side of my screen, and live cards typically are going to be GDK built applications that I physically install an APK on my device. Now, moving on to that, the GDK is an extension of that API 15. I have to add in this special package called Glass Development Kit Sneak Peek. I expect these things to change. I expect it to also be integrated into the standard API, maybe when they get to API 20. It's not there now. This is the way we do it. We hosted 3 workshops just yesterday in which I had, I don't know, it was probably 100 or so different people build Glassware using Android and this GDK. It's normal Android development. That's why it was so simple. These guys were Android developers. They came in having never built Glassware, and quickly and easily, in 2.5 hours, everybody built an app that they were able to start with their voice and add some gestures to and deploy to my Glass. Actually, we had a couple of glasses there that we were passing around. Now, what can you do with this kind of power? Well, it's full Android development at this point. So if I wanted to build some kind of augmented reality running app, I could do that. There's one that's under works. It's called Ghost Runner. If you're a runner, this would be good. I'm not a runner. I need somebody to chase me to want to run, so I'm not going to install this app. This one, on the other hand, I would. Strava makes an app for bicyclists. I like riding, so I would use this in order to track my time going on standard rides that I might take. Awesome experience. Another one that I actually have installed on my device is a WordLens. WordLens does translation. It will translate German, English, Portuguese, Italian, Spanish, and French. So I can go from any one of those to the other just by looking at the sign or the words, and it will do the translation right there in the screen, which is nice because my German sucks. I'm an American, so I speak English. I know je parle un petit peu français. That's from 2 years of French in high school, which was, oh man, way too long ago. But we can do a lot with that. Now, if we start to look at the evolution, we are just now getting into wearables. The screens are different. Everything else was so last month, last year. Actually, most everything was so last year because we just had a new year. But wearables are evolving. Glass is really about fitting in to what's normal for us. As we start to think about the glassware that comes out and how we can make this a better experience for people, is making sure that your glassware stays in the moment, that it doesn't get in the way. Because again, I want to be able to experience something. So if I go and I look at something and I'm like, oh wow, what is that? I can use glass to help me better experience the thing that I'm looking at, not for me to look at some screen somewhere. And that's where glass shouldn't get in the way. Glass could also help recognize where you're at and give you more real-time or relevant information. Say I created a list for the grocery store, and as I enter the grocery store, it dings and says, hey, here's that grocery list you put together. That's relevant. That is useful. It also has to avoid the unexpected. When I arrive at the donut store, I don't know if any of you have heard of this one. It's called Dunkin' Donuts. It's a very popular chain across the US. But I don't need to know about Viagra and the Pope when I go to the donut store. Keep it real. Keep it as what makes sense and is not unexpected. Again, we're using glass not to have us all staring at screens, but allowing us to connect better to people, to be more with the people and share experiences rather than to look at the screens instead of the people. Now, there's lots of other things I can use my glass for. And you may have noticed the slight innuendo that I've had on a few of these screens. I couldn't help myself. I'm not very politically correct, and I am not apologizing for that. But from a glass standpoint, I can do a lot of things. Searching, text messages, calls, photos. I can do a Google Hangout. And you start to think about how these all apply to business. Business would be a great example of where glass is used. Say you're a physician and you're in a Google Hangout with another physician who's done the surgery you're doing many more times than you have. That's a great person to have, you know, your lifeline tied to for information. Lots of fun things that have evolved. I took one of these just a minute ago where I created a vignette. A vignette allows me to take a picture and overlay it at another picture. So I went to a cooking class, if you will. It was called Kitchen Table. So I did a search for kitchen table and got the directions to get there. And then when I was there, I took a picture. And now this picture not only shows the environment that I was in, but a little bit of information about it. So you could look at it and say, oh, that's where he went, as opposed to me showing you a photo and you saying, well, where the hell is that? You have that information, so you can create more context in your photographs. I mentioned translation. WordLens. I went and spoke at a conference in Saint-Etienne in France. It was called Santé Mobile Days. So here's a picture of the website and then the translation that was happening at the same time. Very useful. My French is not very good, so this gave me a good idea of what it was saying. No, the translation is not perfect. When I went to Amsterdam, I needed to find my way from Schiphol Airport, and I probably pronounced that incorrectly, to Amsterdam Science Park. So I asked, get directions to Amsterdam Science Park. These are a little bit different directions, but it literally told me, go to platform 2, get on the Sprinter train, take 5 stops, get off the 5 stops, then walk 400 meters to the east. Okay, those sound like really good directions using public transit. That was awesome. Very handy. One thing you also have to watch out for is how people react to glass. When you start to put a camera in front of people, as I mentioned, some people do the weirdest things. They'll look at you strange, they'll start to dance, they'll start to sing, they think the camera's on. Right now, you do not see the camera. The camera is not on. It is not until I activate it that you can actually see it. And now you see that light that was up on the glass screen. So that's how this works. It's very simple, it's very integrated. Now I'd like to share a few of the screens with you as I plug glass in, and I'm gonna have to put one of these things down in order to figure out how to do this. But again, as I share this with you, if you have questions, you're more than welcome to ask. But afterwards, please do seek me out if you'd like to try glass. So give me a second as I plug this guy in. All right. Microphone. There we go. All right. So as you can see, the screen is off at this point. And if I'll go ahead and use touch gestures in order to handle this. I don't want to pull a Saturday Night Live and reboot it up here. You know, reboot. You guys haven't seen that. A couple of you have. It's hilarious. Anyhow, I'll stick to things you do know. All right, or maybe not. So this is the home screen. Everything to the right is going to be the past. So I'll just go ahead and swipe forward. There was my search for Warsaw, Poland. I can go ahead and tap on that and it says, well, would you like to show the results? Yeah, I would. And then you'll see this little bar across the bottom. This little bar is telling me how many results, and I can quickly move through by swiping faster. 360 kilometers from the Baltic Sea. How many people knew that? I'm still trying to wrap my head around how far a kilometer is. So, I'll go ahead and swipe down and go back. Now I'll look at some other information. There's a picture. Irina looks lovely right up front. I pronounced her name incorrectly. There's the picture I posted. There's another picture. There's another picture. There was a search on mobile Central Europe, so I can go ahead and touch on that. Oh, let me go ahead and touch on that, show the results. So you can see the interface is very easy to use. All right, I'll go ahead and swipe down. I'll swipe down again. That's like the Android back button. I shut it off. You know, I totally wasn't paying attention to the delay. There is a slight delay as I'm using it with what's up on the screen. But as I told you, it's a blistering 41 degrees outside. Anybody go outside? It's hot. All right. There's my flight tomorrow. There's some scores of my teams. There's some nearby attractions. There's my stocks. Oh, wait. Facebook's almost 60. It's getting there. Nearby spots. Lots of content that I can share. Now, again, as I posted before, I could do OK Glass. Now that gives me a list of things that I can do, and as I scroll my head down, the list scrolls, and I can ask it to do anything. So I can say, listen to, moves like Jagger, all right, so now it's going to search my playlist and see if I have Moves Like Jagger by the Maroon 5, and it found it, and I say, oh yeah, let me go ahead and play that. So I'm going to jam out up here, if you guys don't mind. Can you hear that? All right, so it's not the best sound, and you don't really want to like put a microphone up to your ear all the time, but I'll go ahead and stop that. So now that's done. And then, of course, getting directions. Again, getting directions. What's a local thing that I might want to get directions to? In English? No, how about the Royal Castle? That's an easy one. So, okay, Glass. Get directions to the Royal Castle. All right, so now it's connecting via Wi-Fi on my phone. I do not have it connected to the local Wi-Fi, so it's tethered to my phone and using the local Wi-Fi, and it's found the Royal Castle. All right, so now here's my directions, and I'm pointing the wrong direction, so I'll go ahead and turn. And I need to go, hold on, now it knows where, so I do need to go this direction. And as I walk, it moves. As I turn, it turns. And I have a few options. What if I just want to see the whole route and see how far it is? Wow, that's like Apple Maps directions. Must be driving directions. Let me go ahead and change. Public transit, that's what it was doing. There we go, that's a little bit more direct. All right. So again, directions are very easy, and I'll go ahead and stop that. Otherwise, it's going to continue to look at where I'm at and try and direct me to the location that it's trying to go to. So you do have to remember to turn directions off. I do have a couple of favors to ask. As you use Glass and pass it around, please don't text my grandma. Please do not post pictures of your junk to my Facebook page. Simple little things like that. I don't think it's too difficult or too much to ask. I think I went blank. Hold on. There we go. All right. I'll go ahead and pop those off, and we'll finish up here. So I've covered a lot about what Glass can do. I've covered a lot about how you can build Glass applications. There's multiple ways. I've covered etiquette. I've covered a little bit about my experiences, what I think. Now, there's a couple of other things that happen. Is people's expectations of what Glass Glass is, and reality are often too different. It's not augmented reality. You're not really expected to go and play Angry Birds on this. You could. I don't know if you'd want to. I'm not going to watch a full-length movie on it. It's really kind of tiring to look up and to the right for a long period of time. I can read email on it, but if it's a long email, I'd rather have it just read the email to me. There are certain aspects about it of how you should use it and how you could use it are definitely two different things. But if you have some questions about Glass and what Glass can do, how it relates to your industry, I'd be happy to take those questions at this time. All right, so I'm going to probe you for questions. I was told you don't ask questions, and that's all right. That's fine. Yes, sir.
Wait.
Okay, so the question is very simple.
how long can it like run on the battery without being without having to recharge it?
Excellent questions. Also a fairly common question. Now that battery is not a large battery, but it also doesn't have to power a cellular radio, and it doesn't have to power a GPS. It's powering very simple hardware. That hardware doesn't require me to, in an average day, to recharge it until the end of the day. So I make it through a full day. I get home, I go to my home office, I go and I pull off glass and plug it in. But it'll last me the whole day typically. Now here it's quite the exception. If I'm doing lots of demos where people are recording lots of videos, taking lots of pictures, doing lots of directions, doing lots of searches, things that are a little bit abnormal where it's constant for hours on end. Like today, it lasted about half the day, so 4 hours, a little over 4 hours, before I plugged it into a little battery pack, and now it's fully charged again, and it should make it through to the party, and then I'll probably have to charge it in before the party, based on the amount of use. But on a standard day, lasts the full day. About the same as my phone, because the end of the day, after 10, 12 hours of use, I put them both down, both my phone and glass, and plug them in, and both of them are down near the bottom of their life, but they do make it the whole day. And I do phone calls all during the day, never any really long phone calls, but lots of 10-minute, 15-minute phone calls, that kind of stuff. If I do a recording, so I'll go to an event and I want to record it, I can easily get probably about an hour of video on a full charge, and I have no problem. So fairly well, I would say. Other questions? We have up over there, and then we'll come down and down here, okay? We have to pass around a microphone so we can capture the questions well. Sure. Up here? Yep. All right, so the question is, what do I not like about Google Glass? And it's also an excellent question. All right, so as I mentioned before, I had LASIK, so I don't wear glasses anymore. So the idea of putting glasses back on my face is probably not the most enticing thing for me, but that's more of a personal preference. One thing I have noticed is that the size of this right, I guess it's called an arm on a pair of glasses, is a little bit wide, and it tends to bother my ear a little bit. So I can wear them all day and I feel it. It's not that it hurts, but I can feel it. This is a first generation. I'm going to give them a little bit of leeway on that one. But that would be something that I don't like, is that I can feel it on this ear a little bit much. It may be more painful to some people than me, but I notice it. So that would be an annoyance that I have with glass. Another excellent question. And we'll try and get the microphones to the rest of you as well. But so the question is, how long do we think it's going to be before glass becomes more socially acceptable? People are not afraid of the camera there. Well, there's a couple of ideas on this. Are Bluetooth headsets really acceptable now? I mean, if you have this thing, so this is about a large Bluetooth headset, but if I was up here with this thing mounted out the side of my face, well, that's kind of a little bit different, because we don't typically have things sticking out of our ears, except for women with earrings and a few guys. But glasses are very common. And when I start to put the shades on my glasses, so I have sunglass shades that just pop right in, I have the black pair, and it tends to blend right in. I could wear them and walk right by you and you not notice. You would just think, oh, it's some dude with a pair of sunglasses. All right, so I think glasses, or the concept of a pair of glasses, as well as the watches, if you talk about wearables in general, will become more socially acceptable just because they're already part of our culture. People still wear watches most of the time now. It's a jewelry to them. Glasses are still used readily amongst many people. So a glass concept, I think, will be adopted and socially acceptable much more quickly than many others. We had a few more questions. We got one there, we got one down here.
Okay, so you partially answered my question with your last thing you said. I watch a lot of videos on YouTube made by vloggers. Maybe Justine is one of the names who uses glass in her videos. And she mentions a lot that she stopped using glass because, as you said, people are annoyed or angry about it. And it's weird because in her social interactions, she oftenly has a camera in her hand and points it in faces of the other people, and they are not offended by that, but are offended mainly by the concept that they don't know if you are recording or not. And I was wondering if Google, or maybe from your expertise, or if you think that Google should change the design to maybe make glass look like normal glasses. This poses two problems because you do something, you can record people without them knowing, but their ignorance is bliss, so they won't know that you are recording and won't get annoyed. And the design will look different. So what's your opinion on that?
We have this little thing in the US, it's called the NSA. You ever heard of that? Yeah, well, I think people would be more pissed about it if they don't see it and then they find out you did what, versus me being open and honest about it. And if I have the glass out there, the camera out there, and you see it, you know it's there, and you're okay with it, then it's fine. But if I conceal it, well, you start to conceal microphones, you start to conceal video, you start to actually break privacy laws. So no, I don't think the camera should be integrated in a way that it's concealed. I think it should be out there. But at the same time, it needs to be obvious that it's on for people. And you'll notice whenever glass is on, you can see it in the prism. You see the picture being displayed there, so you can tell when it's on. Personally, from my experience, most people are very interested in glass and they ask about it, and I share it with them openly. If you haven't tried it, I'll pull it off. Here, try it. I explain it to them. They become a lot more comfortable with it at that point. The only time I've ever been asked to remove glass was going through the Lyon airport security. I walked up to the security guard just before going through their scanners, and he said, "Is that camera on?" And I said, "Nope." And he said, "Would you mind removing it for the rest of this process?" Not a problem. Took it off, put it in my bag, went through security, promptly put it right back on, and continued on my merry way. Most of the time, even the security guards ask if they can try it. Down here? No, you're good? Right here.
In airplane, do you need to switch them off? In the airplane, do you need to switch them off?
No. In the US, they've made it possible for us to, or legal for us to keep all of our devices on. And because it is not transmitting a cellular signal, it's perfectly okay to leave it on. I typically don't keep it on in the airplane because there's only a few times that I'd want to take a picture, like right at the beginning of taking off and when I'm landing. The rest of the time, what I'm going to take pictures of the guy next to me? No. And the magazines and the stuff that are in the airplane isn't all that interesting. So no, I typically do take it off during the airplane. rides, but I do leave it on. I just stuff it in my bag, and then I take pictures landing and taking off, and that's kind of it.
Two questions. One about controlling the glass. So do you know if Google is considering different ways of controlling? Because the voice commands, I mean, usually they are okay, but sometimes it's just strange, yes? It's not maybe. That's first question. The second question is about how much you can actually do with with Glass if there is no GSM coverage.
All right. Usability is definitely a key thing. Now, just to point out one minor thing is that if if you're a quadriplegic, you have no use from your neck down, you can start to use a smartphone with Glass because you can easily make phone calls now just by lifting your head up, saying, "Okay, Glass, make a call to," and then call that person, which right now is very difficult for somebody that does not have the use of their arms. So from a usability standpoint, voice interaction is critical, and I think they'll continue to advance that. It uses Android's voice recognition, which is very good compared to Siri. Siri is great on context. My wife, on the other hand, she cannot use Siri at all because Siri cannot understand a word she says. You know, okay, get directions to the Royal Castle. Yes, there's a Burger King on 5th and 6th. The other question, part two was, remind me? What do you do about coverage? So Glass does rely on data either from your phone or from a local wireless connection. So if you do not have connection, you still have the ability to work with Glass locally, just like if your phone was not connected. So you can still take pictures. I couldn't post it to Facebook. I couldn't do a search, but I would be able to use the other apps that are on it. So I have Evernote on my Glass, so I'd still be able to take a note. It just would not sync until I get connected. So just like most other devices, if the data connection is not there, it is not able to use that piece, but everything else would function fine. The voice recognition, no, because I can still do OK Glass, take a photo, that is on the Android device, it listens for that, and it's part of the Android OS. The part of that would not work is if I do a search. So if I said, OK, Google, Mobile Central Europe, it does the voice recognition and then does the search. So yes, voice recognition will work even though you're not connected, but only for certain things. And I'm sorry, did you have another question?
Yes. Can you, I understand that right now if you have application on your mobile phone, then application for Glass, those are two different things. Or can you integrate the application that is, you have on your mobile also offer interface to Glass?
So can I have Glass applications talk with applications that are also installed on my Android phone or my iOS phone? Because Glass does work with both. Just it works better with Android due to some of the security lockdown things in iOS. So there are different things that are available via the API that allow me to talk to things that are on Android. I personally have not explored that option yet, so I can't answer that particular question. But they are Android applications. They are on devices that are connected via a Bluetooth connection. So I imagine there is a possibility that I can have inter-app communication across devices. But that's a guess. I haven't done it yet.
Okay, hi. I must admit that I'm a bit skeptical about the Google Glass. What makes me skeptical is that you mentioned about the problem that when a group of friends meet that are more interested in smartphones than in a conversation with each other, do you really believe that replacing their smartphones with Google Glass is the best solution here?
Well, I appreciate your skepticism, but if you do not take your phone out, you are not tempted to look at Facebook.
If you do not have Google Glass, you're not tempted to do anything.
If you have Google Glass, you're not tempted to read Facebook, but you are still encouraged to produce content. You're still encouraged to take photographs and record videos and have fun and be with the people that you're with. But as soon as you pull out that phone and you start to get sucked in to that environment, that's when you leave that
I simply don't. I simply don't put out my phone. That's simply that. As simple as it.
But there's also games people play. Like, anybody ever go to dinner and everybody puts their phone in the center of the table, and then the first one to grab their phone pays the bill? Yeah, that's how bad it is now, because people are pissed that it's like, look, you're here to be with me and these other people. Don't pull your phone out and start getting sucked into some other world that is not right here, right now. Glass doesn't allow me. Take that back. I could go and go to the Facebook webpage. I could. I can view a website. I can zoom on a website, and I can read a website. It's just not that great of an experience. It's one that's there in case you need to look at a website. But I can still produce the content that I would like to share. So I want the best of social media, the ability to share that content to my social network, but I don't want to be sucked into consuming that content when I'm with somebody that I care about.
Okay, and the other smaller question, can you swim with Google Glass?
I haven't been swimming with Google Glass, but I have had no problem going through rain and snow with Google Glass. Even at blogger for Rackspace, what's his name? Anyhow, he took a shower with it. So, yeah, it's not waterproof, but it's fairly water resistant, and I have had no issues in rain with it. I do not shower with my technology, just a personal preference.
Can you show any website on Google Glass?
How much time do I have? Am I like completely out of time?
7 minutes.
Who's up next, and do they mind? All right, so let's see. I did, actually, I can do Warsaw, Poland, show the results. All right, and then there's the read aloud, visit the website. So now it's going to load up this website. There is a browser. It is not a WebKit browser. One of my blog posts, I talk about the browser metrics that come back from it. So it's completely loaded, and I can use my finger and scroll through the website. This one is mobile optimized, so you can see that. I can also say I'm looking at that picture, and I want to see more. So I use two fingers, and I can zoom in on that picture, and then I can move my head and pan around looking at that picture and that one, and then I can, maybe I want to zoom in a little bit more, and then I can pan around again that website. So the website experience is very good, considering it's a very tiny screen right there. I can use it. I can consume content on it, but it's not as good as if I were on a much larger screen.
What about Kindle and reading books?
I can watch a YouTube video, but I don't like doing long-term looking up to the right into that screen. You could, it's just not for me.
But it will be mainstream, or what do you think about it? People will use it as a ebook reader or something.
Oh, there you are over there.
Hi.
Honestly, I don't think anybody would appreciate the experience of trying to read a novel on glass. The screen is fairly small, but if I were to open it up and have it read to me, I would live with that. It would be like books on audio, books on tape. But I don't think I would, personally, I don't think I would continue to read long text on it.
You know, I got a problem because when I'm reading in the night, my wife is starting to, you know, kick me and said, turn that shit off. So I'm just asking because the glass should be like less light producing, right?
I'm sorry about what your wife does to you.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks for sharing. We have a question over here, right down front.
Since you start using glass, how much decrease the times when you need to use a smartphone? Does it cover, I don't know, 10, 50, 90% of the use cases when you had to reach to get your smartphone previously?
In a typical day, I will not touch my phone unless I know I'm going to be on a long phone call. Other than that, it stays in my pocket. Well, that, and also I still do a lot of development as well, so I'll take my phone out and I'll plug my phone in and like deploy apps to it. But other than that, I'm really not using my phone directly very much at all. So maybe 90% of the time, I'm using glass. Then again, I don't do a whole lot of Facebook reading on my period. So that probably, or play Angry Birds. So if I did a lot more Facebook and a lot more Angry Birds, I imagine I use my phone a lot more. So if you're that gamer, social media addiction, you might, your numbers would be different.
We don't have time for much questions.
We don't have more time. That's all right. Thank you very much, everybody. Please find me afterwards if you'd like to try glass. I welcome you. Please come up to me and ask.